Fritz Harber. He saved more lives than potentially anyone else in human history. He was as brilliant as heartless. His life began in 1868 in Breslau, Poland today. He was raised in a strict Jewish household and converted to Lutheranism in his 20s. The several next decade he began to hide his Jewish heritage. From an early age Harber excelled at the science, climbing the academic ranks until he found his niche in the new field of physical chemistry. In 1905 he completed his third book, which led to his promotion to full professor, but also hinted at some of his very first experiments into something called nitrogen fixing. It will change the world. In 1900, the world's population was about 1.6 billion people. Now there are 5.5 billion more. 7 billion of us are walking around today because we have eaten food which has given us the energy to do awesome things like going to history class. In 1898, a British chemist, Sir William Crookes, predicted that the Earth population will outpace the supply of wheat by 1931. Intensive farming was depleting the nitrogen in the soil, raising fear of a global food crisis. By the early 1900s, Harber realized that it was possible to synthesize ammonia from atmospheric nitrogen and hydrogen under some specific circumstances. By 1908, he figured out that if he combined both elements under immense heat and pressure, it was possible to synthesize ammonia. By 1913, the process had been refined and commercialized with the help of another German chemist, Carl Bosch. So that ammonia could be produced on an industrial scale, Haber-Bosch process was one of the most significant achievements of the 20th century. It doesn't appear that Harber invented fixed nitrogen to save the world's famine, but that he was far more interested in helping Germany making more explosive. It can easily be converted into nitric acid. During World War I, the Allies blockaded Germany's port, cutting off Germany's supply to all those nitrates coming from South America. Thanks to Harber's work, Germany was able to continue manufacturing ammunition and fight on. The second invention. Harber was appointed director of the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Physical Chemistry and Electrochemistry in 1911. During World War I, he was recruited to head up Germany's warfare division. He dropped everything for the opportunity. He used his brilliant mind to figure out how to devise gaseous compound intended to injure or kill human beings. He first came up with dixyl bromide. It proved itself worthless in battle. He then moved on to chlorine. On the April 22, 1915, Harber oversaw the first large-scale gas attack in military history in Belgium. As Germany attacked French, Canadian, and Algerian troops with 150 tons of poisonous gas, chlorine gas proved to be hardly effective. The attack resulted in 10,000 injuries and death. Harber returned to Berlin celebrating his victory, where his wife Clara, a successful chemist in her own right, told him that she could not live with him using their science to create such horrible weapons. Harber told her to mind her own business. She then put an end to her life. He left the next day to oversee a gas attack on the Russian front and continued to supervise Germany's chemical warfare program. He then oversaw the development of mustard gas, which proved even more effective than chlorine because it was heavy and settled in the trenches. He also helped inventing gas masks for German troops. Germany lost the war. In 1919, Harber was awarded with the Nobel Prize for Chemistry, improving the standard of agriculture and well-being of mankind. For 6 years in the 1920s, Harber, with the help of an experimental ship, searched the ocean for bling and came up empty-handed. Early 1930s, with Hitler rising to power, he could not hide his Jewish heritage anymore. He was forced to resign from the Wilhelm Institute in 1933 and kicked out of the country. He died in Switzerland at the age of 65 the following year. But the story does not end here. He has a large legacy. Earlier in history, Harber had invented an insecticide called Zyklon A. The following year, German scientists tinkered with the formula to produce a new gas called Zyklon B. This gas was used in the concentration camp to kill millions of prisoners during World War II. It is estimated that every year factories around the world make over 100 million tons of synthetic nitrogen-based fertilizer, and an estimated 2 billion people depend on the Harber process to grow their food.